Don't you love it when you bite into a ripe piece of stone fruit and its juices run down your chin? I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. We'll catch those jerks because I can put them into one of my recipes today on SoFlo Taste. How fun is that? Good morning all, I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein coming to you from the Goya Kitchen at Junior Achievement of South Florida in Coconut Creek. They've had all summer to ripen, get juicy and sweet. Now it's time to harvest them all and make good food from them. Today I thought it would be fun to give you recipes for stone fruits, so let's get cooking. The first dish I'm going to make you, it is roast peaches with crisp Jamon Serrano salad. The first thing we're going to do is, these peaches are halved. We just took the pit out with a little spoon. I'm going to top it with just a little bit of brown sugar, very tiny amount to promote the sweetness of the peach. You can obviously use nectarines, plums, whatever it is that you like in case you don't find the peach. Tiny little pinch of salt. I love a bit of nutmeg on my peaches. And finally, a little bit of rosemary. You can basically just pick little pieces like so from a fresh stem of rosemary like that. All right, next we have a little rack here that I sprayed with some cooking oil. So I've got little strips here of sliced jamon, and I'm going to just keep them and their integrity as straight as possible. I also am going to add a little bit of grated manchego to this dish. All right, I'm going to do about 4 strips for this salad. Let's go ahead and go into the oven so we can move on with our vinaigrette. I'm going to put it up a little bit high. The higher up you go in your oven, the more direct heat you have. As you know, heat rises. So I want that jamon to get a little bit dried out and a little crisp, give it more texture, and that's why I put it up high. I also wouldn't mind if my peaches get nice and roasty. So let's jump right into what I consider to be a little bit of a simple but delicious vinaigrette. We're going to take some very finely minced shallot, a little bit of Dijon mustard, and then one of my favorite vinegars. It's called Pedro Ximénez in English. PX, as we like to call it for short, is also a drinking sherry. This is the vinegar from that PX sherry. So you can imagine the vinegar is really, really yummy. So let's go ahead and pour some of that in here. Just because we're doing peaches, I've decided to add the tiniest bit of honey to the vinaigrette, but like a little tiny bit, and a nice amount of cracked black pepper. And then finally, the oil that I've used, I decided to go with a more flavorless oil, you know, something that doesn't have intensity to it. So let's go ahead and start whisking this. And you really just want it to come completely together and be homogeneous before adding the oil. And then I like to drizzle the oil in nice and slowly as you whisk it. If you wanted to do this in a blender, you could, but remember the shallots will completely puree into your vinaigrette, which is actually fine if you like it that way. It'll just be more oniony. So this is actually beginning to emulsify. What happens is the vinegar adheres to the mustard, which adheres to the oil, thus making a nice thicker vinaigrette with a little more viscosity. So I think we're there. Let's give it a little taste and see where we are. So, you know, you can always add, yummy, more vinegar or more oil. For me, just a little more salt, and then I'm happy. You can easily make this with pretty much any of your favorite lettuces. I wanted something that'll really hold up to all these bold flavors and textures. So for me, I chose one of my favorites. I love every kind of cress available. I think it's delicious. Let's go ahead and dress this with a little bit of our Pedro Ximénez vinaigrette. So this is just delicious. I love every cress. I think watercress really kind of stands up to pretty much everything. So let's go ahead and add the grated manchego already to it. And don't be shy with salt. I mean, keep tasting it, right? But the salad does desire a lot of salt. watercress needs it. This dressing is rather bold, so you're going to want a nice amount of it. Let's see how our peaches are doing. It smells like peaches and bacon. Wow. All right, so let's put all this together, shall we? We've got the crust with the cheese and that Pedro Jimenez vinaigrette. We have these beautiful peaches that just got juicier with roasting, with the rosemary. All that brown sugar has just melted. And then, of course, you have these crispy bits. Check it out. So this is the Jamon Serrano. So you have these fun little croutons of Jamon Serrano, which could be prosciutto too. All we did was bake it on that rack with a little spray so it didn't stick. They're really good and crispy, or you can keep them whole like so. And then finally, for a little extra crunch, we've got the Marcona almonds. And you could put those around your gorgeous salad. And there we have it. I don't know what to call it, but it sure looks good. Remember, all of my recipes, including today's stone fruit recipes, are available on the SoFlo Show's webpage. Just scan this quick response code for immediate access to the fabulous SoFlo Show's page. You'll also see this QRC on the ingredient list throughout the show. Come right back for more recipes that start with something that's delicious around a pit.
There's still more from the Goya Kitchen at J.A. World and Michelle.
Coming up right after SoFlo Taste, it's SoFlo Home Project with me, Elena Capra, so stay tuned.
Thanks, Elena. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. When I say stone fruit, do you know which fruit I'm talking about? Well, here are the ones we all know. Peaches, plums, cherries, nectarines, mangoes, apricots, and lychees. But did you know so are raspberries, blackberries, mulberries, olives, and coconuts? Yeah, coconuts. No matter, let's get back to making them even better. Let's talk a little bit about duck. I love duck breasts, and to me it's actually one of the easiest things to cook. I know that sounds crazy. A lot of people think duck is really difficult, but if you can find beautiful duck breasts like these, which you can, by the way, at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, they are just wonderful. They have things like ducks and geese and chickens, but they also have great seafood and shellfish and all kinds of stuff. Just go see them. Go look at Delaware.com online and just scroll into subscribe so you can get a newsletter from them, but also just go see them at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. Call them 954-983-6831. Place an order. They are just wonderful people. Tell them Chef Michelle sent you, and you can get duck breasts like these. And trust me, you won't regret it. This is how it comes. When you buy it from Delaware Chicken Farm, this is how a duck breast comes. It's really clean. You really have very little you need to do to manipulate it. I love to score duck breast, the skin. So just take a sharp knife and just run your knife blade across at a diagonal like so. Don't cut too far in because you don't want to cut into the meat of the duck breast. Then, if you want, turn it just a little bit of a diagonal again, and then you're going to slice down, causing little diamond shapes. And that's really it. So one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to make a really delicious spice rub, which you don't rub on the skin side, you rub on the flesh side. So I love warm spices with duck, so let's jump right in. I have a little bit of ginger, some coriander, a little bit of cinnamon. I call them warm because I feel like they make you warm when you eat them. A tiny bit of cumin. And then I've got nutmeg, clove, but really, really, really tiny of clove because that can take over. And finally a little star anise, which I'm just going to grate right in there. And then I haven't seasoned it yet, so I'm going to add salt to this and a little black pepper to this. Let's just go ahead and mix this up. And now I can season my duck breast. Now, you never want to cook the duck breast with the flesh side down. To me, 90% of the cooking of a duck breast is skin side. What I'm doing is called rendering, when you render the fat out of the skin. So, season only the flesh with a really good amount because, you know, ducks have a nice amount of fat, and fat means that it will take on whatever flavor you give it, but you need to give it a good amount of it. And by the way, the cooking process will resume in the oven after we get this rendered. So you want it really crispy. We want the fat to come down to only, I would say, about 1/8 of an inch, maybe even less. We'll take a look at it in a second. So for the sauce, I've decided that I'm gonna make the sauce in this pan because we have all this good fat, we might as well use it. I'm gonna pour a little bit of that fat into here and throw that in my fridge and use it again one day when I feel like maybe making eggs and duck fat and being fancy with my husband. But we're gonna leave a little bit in there. And that's where I'm gonna cook a cherry sauce, because I think cherry sauce and duck is just a perfect combination. Let's take a look and see how our duck breasts are doing. So I'm gonna really gently, with a spatula, see how I'm doing. Oh, these are beautiful. Okay, we're almost at the point where we can flip them over. Now, if you wanted to be a little more, air quote, safer, you can use a nonstick pan, but I really love cast iron. Once in a while, it might stick a little, which is why I'm gingerly pushing my spatula underneath it, making sure that none of it gets scraped off. Yeah, just beautiful. All right, so let's take a look and see the fat, because we can really look at it. You can see the fat cap has decreased by a good 60–70%, leaving it nice and crisp. Now I'm just gonna flip over the duck breast and place it onto a little rack, and I'm gonna set them in the oven. By the time the sauce is ready, the duck breast will be ready. Let's go ahead and place them in. I'm going for a nice medium rare. So let's pour out a lot of this fat. I'm leaving in about a tablespoon or so. And again, I'm saving that for later. So into this pan, I'm gonna add a little bit of shallot. It needs some kind of an onion, I feel. And then I'm gonna add its cherries. Not all of them. I think I'm gonna add about half of them now and let them cook out a little bit, and we'll add the fresh ones in a minute. Then we'll add a little bit of the port wine and red wine. Woohoo! Now, some people really feel like they have to use a certain kind of port. There's tawny ports, there's ruby ports. I don't really care. I'm making a cherry reduction, so it doesn't matter to me. If you don't have port at home and you happen to be a Madeira fan, I would go straight to that Madeira because that stuff is delicious. A little bit of sugar, just a tiny pinch of sugar, not much. I love vanilla in my cherry sauce. If you're a purist, then don't add it. I'm gonna just go ahead and add the rosemary and the thyme for the reduction. A pinch of salt. And finally, a nice amount of black pepper. My duck breast need maybe 2 minutes. My sauce needs 1. When you come back, we'll put it all together. Another recipe in a moment, so don't be gone for too long because I will miss you. Stay tuned to SoFlo Taste. We'll be right back. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. As usual, I'm coming to you from Junior Achievement of South Florida. It's a great educational venue and resource for our kids. For more information, visit jasouthflorida.org or call 954-979-7100. And thank you to all our friends here. Now back to something good. Okay, everybody, a moment we've all been waiting for. I squeezed half of a lemon, just so you know, into the cherry sauce. And I don't think I told you, but these cherries are pitted. You need to just buy a cherry pitter and it's really super easy. It takes a second. And they're delicious. They're great for eating too. Okay. So the duck breasts roasted for just a couple more minutes. I love to let them rest. I pulled out the thyme and the rosemary from the sauce, and I swirled in about 2 tablespoons of butter into that sauce. So let's go ahead and cut the duck breasts. See how they're beautifully pink in the middle, right in half. And I made some Israeli couscous earlier with some herbs that I thought would be really nice. See how beautiful? The duck breasts are beautifully medium rare, gorgeous crispy skin. That's what you're looking for when you're cooking duck. So let's go ahead and take this cherry sauce and spoon it right over the top of our duck. Now you can say goodbye to your orange sauce and say hello to our beautiful summer cherry sauce. The last thing I wanted to do was just to add a little bit of orange zest right over the top, right before it goes to the table, so that it just smells even more fragrant. And I can't do anything without my crunchy sea salt. Please stop. Okay, and there you have it, beautiful duck with cherry sauce. All right, moving on. The last thing I wanted to teach you was a stone fruit hand pie. To me, a hand pie is really just an empanada. So let's go ahead and start this out. I'm gonna cook down some beautiful apricots, nectarines, and blackberries. So let's put all this into a pot, add a little bit of sugar. You can add lemons or limes or oranges, it's really up to you. Traditionally, people add lemons, but here in SoFlo, we love our limes. Let's add a little bit of vanilla extract. And I know this sounds a little weird, but it's really delicious. Add a little black pepper to this filling. Lastly, a little bit of cornstarch to bring the whole thing together. So let's go ahead and turn that on. And you're just gonna wanna cook this down until it gets really nice and thick. Once that happens, you're gonna wanna put it into your fridge and really let it get really tight and really, really cold. Cold is the most important part of fillings for the hand pies. So here we have our beautiful filling. I threw in blackberries right at the end, and that's what caused them to still be whole, but to give this an even prettier hue, that kind of rosy color. It's just gorgeous. So here I have some empanada dough, like I told you. These are going to be baked instead of fried. I love my fried empanadas, but I also love my baked ones, so these we decided to bake instead. So let's go ahead and take one shell, okay? Let's plop it down so I can really show you how to do this. And make sure you get a little bit of everything: apricot, blackberry, nectarine, okay? Then you run your finger with a little bit of water, just around about half of it. That's good to me. Then you bring it together, like so, and rather than doing an empanada closure, I'm actually going to do a pie closure. So once you have it, you want to seal it at least a ½ inch all the way around of a rim. So a pie closure, you basically would pinch. So we're just going to do a quick pinch there, pinch there. I like to come on the other side and quickly close it before it oozes too much. A pinch there, and then meet in the middle. Pinch there and there. Got it? So pretty, right? So I'm going to sit it upright like so, and then I take a little bit of melted butter and just brush all sides with that melted butter. And then I take a little turbinado sugar, that's sugar in the raw. It's really crunchy and it stays crunchy, which I love, throughout the baking process. And then you'll sprinkle it over the top. And of course, I'm not going to show you what they look like yet. Oh, that would be too fast. But I am going to dust them with a little cinnamon powdered sugar. So come right back so we can make one together. SoFlo Taste will return right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and my show all about stone fruit. So we have our beautifully, I promised you an Uzi hand pie, and I think I have delivered. I topped it with a little powdered sugar and cinnamon mixed together, and that's it. I sure hope I gave you some great stone fruit recipes, and I love doing a stone fruit show every year. These fruits are so versatile and just so good. Next week, I'm cooling it. I'll be giving you cooling recipes of desserts to compete with SoFlo's hot, hot summer. So turn the AC down and join me on the next SoFlo Taste. Now let's say good morning to Elena Capra, host of SoFlo Home Project. Morning, Elena. What's next?
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. So if your home is from the 1970s, you may want to take note. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we tour a 1970s home that went from fixer to fabulous.
Okay, my dear, we'll be watching as the SoFlo Hour continues. So Taste Buds, thanks for watching, and please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you here next week. Goodbye, mwah, and good taste.